you guys, when they can't see what other people are writing, they can only hear what I say based on the questions that I read aloud. But I think it would be cool if they can see what else is going on with the conversation rather than just it being the Q&A section. Okay. I think we're good to go. All right, so officially, hi everyone, I'm Tim Von Rieden with cgcookie.com, and I do these weekly Wednesday live streams for the concept side, and essentially they are meant to help hopefully teach something new, but also have fun doing it in the process, and then have some back and forth between you and I. If you have any questions about the art world, digital art in general, art school, if you're stuck on anything that is digital or traditional, I am here to answer to the best of my ability. And usually these are more fun for me recently. I feel like we have some cool conversations back and forth, and hopefully we are growing together as artists in this crazy art world. All right, so today we're going to be doing this little scene here with Melvin and Cal putting up their Christmas tree. Let me put... these are two characters that we are developing for a future title. And Melvin was in our first little iOS game that we developed way back when, and I think it was 2012, as more of an experiment with our crew. But I always kind of bring them up from time to time and have them join in the festivities. So today they're going to be putting up a Christmas tree. But the underlying learning session here is working in grayscale, blocking out our values, and then adding a splash of color on top in the way that I would go about doing that. And let me see if there's any. Let me just make sure that I can see your guys' comments on the side here. And if you have any questions at all, please put at CGCookieConcept first, so that way when I'm working and I look over, it's really easy for me to distinguish a question or if it's just a conversation. Well, thank you guys. Well, welcome back, Kathy Brown. Oh, good. You guys were able to fix the emoticons. I was thinking of, for next week, adding a Cal and Melvin one, maybe wearing a Santa hat, or a Frederick the Duck. I'll change out the emoticons, because I feel like it would be good to get just a refresh of emotes from time to time. And even I was watching my friend Key's stream the other day, and I thought it was really cool. I don't know why I didn't realize it, but I can use the fridge and the tea on her stream. So you can use them anywhere on Twitch. I think it's a cool little feature. Okay. So yeah, let me go ahead and get started. I know that we kind of had... Well, first, let me lay out the scene first before I start doing art talks, and then we'll go from there. So to make this into something I want to work with, I just pulled the marketing image, and essentially I'm going to change it to a multiply layer so that I can paint underneath of all of our line art we have. I'm going to get rid of all this marketing nonsense. Bye-bye, cookie. And the reason I chose this size in particular is because we need a new Facebook banner, and that was kind of the inspiration for creating this, and I thought it would be nice to do it that way. Thank you, Jay. So what I'm going to be doing is laying out a very neutral gray background first. Well, I thank you, Food Poisoning, for following. I love all the usernames you guys have on here. So we right now have a white background. Oh, and that's the old Facebook banner. That was our winner of our fall contest. And I should mention that we will have a winter contest starting around mid-January. And I'm really excited for that one. I'm going to, once again, gather up a bunch of special guest judges, and that should be out mid-January. So we have a pure white background right now. I'm just going to open up my hue and saturation menu, and I have mine set as a keyboard shortcut, but you can find it under Image, Adjustment, and Hue Saturation. And I'm going to turn the lightness down quite a bit, actually. I want to make sure that you guys can still see it, but we're going to turn it down because I'm going to create more of like a night scene, as if these characters are kind of putting the star on top of this tree that they found outside. So we'll also work with some pretty intense lighting scenario. I think working with more of a, I don't want to say a specific lighting scenario, but I guess it's more of a isolated lighting scenario. So we have the star on top of the tree, which will be lit, and then the Christmas lights going down the tree will have colored lights, and then you'll see that reflect off of the characters, but it'll be very subtle compared to the bright starlight, which will be more of like a highlight, and it will be the kind of the light that's bringing the form to life in the two characters. So with that in place, I'm going to go ahead and start blocking out the values with the star being my main light source, that one, and then like intermingly, they'll be littered down the tree with these lights. So as I'm blocking out the values, I want to do a quick catch up with what's been happening, because I know a bunch of you guys were here last week for the stream on which I talked about art block and overcoming it, and that was a huge motivation for me. I think it helped me reflect on my current situation and how to get past art block. So I want to kind of share with you guys what happened since then. So like I said, I'm just going to block these out. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. Sometimes I ramble and I go on about a specific subject, but I promise I do look over at the questions. So if there's anything you want to know, just put it in the chat and I will look over. So the first thing that happened was I painted that same image that we worked on last week, and I finished it that night. I had a goal of not doing it in color, but just pushing it further to a point where I felt more comfortable with it, or a place where I felt it was more done. I really liked the progress that we made on the call. I thought there was really good suggestions you guys had with what to add and how to make it look better, and I really liked it. And I just wanted to have fun with the piece. I feel like I haven't had fun with digital art in a while, and I think a part of that was I'm too serious with it. Well, I think you... Oh, I'm going to miss it. Fried. Oh, I got Fried. Well, thank you, Fried, for following. And I think when it comes to digital art, I don't have that same liberal freedom that I have with my traditional stuff, and I think that's why I always kind of fall back on it. So last week, I kind of took a pledge to myself of not taking it so seriously and just letting it come organically, not forcing myself to use brushes that I'm not comfortable with, not doing anything that didn't feel right, and really letting my intuition kind of take over on the entire piece. And I think I really needed that. I needed that sense of just having fun with art again, especially when it comes to digital. So I finished it, and I actually felt pretty good about it that night. I thought that I was making strides in remembering my process with digital art and how to go about doing it again. But I think the more important thing was I was accepting my level of skill with digital. Even though I know it's lower than my traditional, I was accepting the fact that if I want to get better, I just have to keep practicing and keep working at it. It's frustrating, yeah, to know that you're better at one over the other, but if you don't work towards it, you're never going to be as good, or it's not going to get better. Like, you almost got to stop being a baby sometimes, and I think I was kind of being, I don't know if being a baby is the right word, but I was being very sensitive about the fact that I could tell that my work wasn't as strong. And, you know, as an artist, that it just bums you out. So after that, then, we did an art jam weekend, and we invited some people up. We had, actually, Peter Moorbacher, if you guys know who he is. His handle is Bugmeyer, I'm pretty sure, on Instagram. He's the artist that does all the Angelarium stuff on his own accord. And I think they're some of the most beautiful pieces I've seen in digital art, definitely in the modern art world. And I really respect his vision. So it was really cool having him come to the house for the first time and just having an art jam where we just felt like we could draw amongst each other and just have casual conversation. And I think I needed that. I needed that break from being so serious all the time. So that was really nice. And during that, I'm still working on my 2-foot drawing. I don't have it around me here, but I will show it to you guys maybe at the end of the stream, as I'm almost done with it. And I'm really excited for that because I started it at the beginning of the year, and I'll be able to finish it up soon. And I also did a collaboration piece with Deandra, who actually was one of my former live hangout partners that would help ask the questions for me. And the collaboration felt so organically created, and I felt like our minds were meshing together so well. I needed that return to art because I think sometimes I do too much commercial or things that are meant to be not as like insightful or deep or meaningful. And I understand the purpose of that kind of art in this world. I think when you do too much of it, you lose sight of why you got into drawing in the first place. And I think that also contributed to why I was feeling kind of down about my art recently. Really quick, so with this piece, I'm just putting the star as my main light, and I'm casting basically a light on the characters on where that star would hit. And then the areas in shadow are essentially the areas where the light cannot reach. And you'll see how that works out after we start getting to blending a bit more. Actually, yeah, like the snow on the end of the trees, that's not exactly what I should be doing. I should be focusing on light right now. Oh, and then, okay. Oop, there we go. So then after the weekend, I also got a freelance commission. It was very small, but I had to do a realism cat for someone that wanted me to draw a cat for their boyfriend. And I think that was kind of just a test for me to see, like, do I still like realism as much as I used to? And I did have fun with the cat drawing. I think with art, and this is what I've kind of experienced the past week, I would say, and the conclusion I've come to is I'm still figuring it out. But I had a good talk with a lot of my art friends last night about what does art mean to me and why do I feel like I'm struggling with it right now. And a part of it was I watched a movie called Nocturnal Animals yesterday, and it's directed by Tom Ford. And in the movie, and I think this is where I can relate to you guys on this, or maybe you guys can relate to this, but the main character is an artist. And even though it doesn't center around her artwork, there are a lot of comments she makes about her own art, and you even get to see a gallery of her art, and she's miserable. She hates the stuff that she creates in a sense that she doesn't believe that she's creative. And to really be creative, you have to put yourself out on the line and be vulnerable and do all these things that she doesn't believe she is. She believes she's cynical and she can't make it in the art world, for she will never be this truthful, honest person. And it really hit hard with me because I think it got me to thinking, what am I working towards? What is the end goal with art? And maybe a lot of you have been feeling this too, or have felt this, or maybe will feel this eventually. And it's what is the end goal? What is our end goal with doing art and doing this constantly? And for her, it was success. And she lives in this, and don't worry, I won't spoil anything if you want to see it. But she was living in this very lavish mansion. She had a trophy husband, essentially. And money wasn't really an issue too much, but she was a successful artist. She was a very successful artist, but she was miserable. She didn't like the art that she created. She was living in a very cold life, and it just made me, reflect on my own experiences with art and how much I do not want that to be my future or my end. Because as much as it's a challenge to make it in the art world, and it is difficult, and I don't want to underplay that, it is important to really aspire to be something bigger than yourself. I think if you take it too far, then you become that cold, lonely artist sitting in a mansion full of money with no one around you. So the way that I have been thinking about it last night and even this morning is you should be driven and you should have these aspirations, but you can't forget to have fun along the way. And the most important thing in this world are the other people around you. The more that I am getting older, I don't know if it's just because I'm getting more pensive or more insightful, but I've definitely come to realize that it's the other people in our lives that really make any of this worthwhile. And even if you become a successful artist, however many followers you get, however much money or financial gain you have, it really doesn't mean anything unless if you have people there along the way that you can share these experiences with. So I don't want to get too insightful or like too self-helpy, but I just thought after last week on getting over an art block, I think it was more of me coming to terms with, I don't know if it was my art that was a problem or my technique that was so much a problem. It was my mindset, and I wasn't thinking clearly because I was thinking too much about these other things. So I just wanted to have that little rant at the beginning just to kind of catch you guys up with what has been happening since last week. I've gotten a lot of messages on my Instagram, and they were really nice. And I think it just comes to show for me that this is what matters, like making sure that you have these connections with other people and not letting those fade or not putting those on a lesser importance. So thank you guys, and thank you for coming to these streams, especially those of you that come weekly. I really do appreciate it, and hopefully that these helped you in some way in return. Okay, so now that I'm done with that, let me look at what you guys have been saying here. Devil Shawn says, the pizza on the horn was the best. Yeah, maybe we'll slip in a pizza somewhere on here. Like maybe we'll make a pizza ornament after we get all of our lighting in here. Tijel says, what's the best Christmas present you ever received? You know, as much as I want to say it, it's like, oh, family and, you know, being around people I love. The best present I remember, just because it was such a surprise, and I feel like I'm rarely ever surprised, was about 4 years ago. I asked for a snowboard, and my mom told me it was too expensive and that we wouldn't be able to get it in time because I sent her the one that I liked, but apparently it had this crazy delay or whatever. And the morning of Christmas came, and my mom gave me a note. It was like in a package, and the note said, your snowboard has been ordered, or, you know, you won't get it for another few weeks or whatever. And, you know, it was just one of those Christmases where I didn't have any other presents. Like that was it. It was just a note, but I was still thankful, and I knew it was going to come, and I feel like I'm a patient person, so it didn't really bother me that much. But literally within 5 minutes of receiving the letter, the UPS man pulled up, and I found out that my parents actually had it like a 1 day or 2 day rush shipped, and they paid this extra money to get the snowboard in by Christmas. And it was like one of these crazy experiences where I go from like being like, you know, okay, or like settling with the idea that I'm going to have to wait a little while to receive the snowboard. And then out of the blue, like having it and having that instant satisfaction of accepting that you're going to have to be patient and then receiving it anyways. I think to me, for whatever reason, that always sticks out to me as being my favorite Christmas memory. Well, I thank you, Seyoksem, for following. I'm sure that's not how that's pronounced, but thank you for checking this out. Okay, so as we're going down the tree here, we definitely want it lighter because it's closer to the light source. And then as we go further down, it's going to be darker and it's going to be receiving less of that direct light. And on Melvin, it's actually probably a little too intense because by the time it reaches him, let's do more of like a... I'm going to actually pull up my chalk brush as my eraser too. I'm going to redo his just a little bit. Because Cal will have more of like this direct shadow where it's very contrasted, but since Melvin's a little further away, it won't be quite as much of a stark contrast between the two. Oh, and for those of you, I should have probably mentioned, if you have no idea who Melvin and Cal are, let me just do a quick... I'll just bring in the reference that I have on my other screen. Melvin is this orange monster, and then Cal is the sheep. And essentially, they're begrudged friends that have to work together to overcome the levels that you encounter in a game. But I think the thing that I should focus on most is the fact that they're very shapular. And I think that's why these are fun for me to draw and to showcase, because they're very easy to show, like light transitions or how to color or how to shade or things along those lines because of how simplistic they are. All right, so now in the shadow area, I'm going to have some bounce light. It's going to be very subtle though, but I definitely want to round out the character just a touch more. Because then after we get all of our values set, that's when we're going to throw in the color. And I think for a while I was going straight into color just because I enjoy color and I enjoy the coloring process. But I'm trying to learn new techniques and try to grow as a digital artist. So one way of doing it is starting in grayscale. Because I think as a traditional artist, one of my strengths with doing the pencil work, or not even a strength, but just by you're forced to work in grayscale essentially if you're doing pencil stuff. So you're able to see the values or you're able to see like how to create your contrast. And I think that's why I'm trying to pull that into my digital just to see if I get the same kind of effect. Same with Cal. Throw in some bounce light. Let's see what other questions you have. Tigil says, haha, I just spotted the golden fridge ornament. Yep, that's going to be our little fridge ornament down here. You're the first person to catch that little Easter egg. I feel like the ornaments that we add should be just a bunch of Easter eggs that only people that come to the streams would understand. So that when I post it on the Facebook page, people will be like, why is there a fridge on their Christmas tree? But you guys will get it. Because I think another problem with my digital art is I take it too exact. I need to be more fluid and more loose with the way I treat digital. But not lazy. I think sometimes I get lazy with digital just because you could do like really big brush strokes just by upsizing the size of the brush. With traditional, you can't do that with mechanical pencils because you're forced to work with a very, very small radius mechanical lead, and you can't just make it really big and do big brush strokes. So I think with digital, I think of, I can just really quickly make that stroke or whatever by making the brush bigger. So I think it comes down to, I still need to take my time with digital. And yeah, there's shortcuts that you can take, but I need to use them without relying on them. I think maybe that's part of my own issue with digital and how I can get better and become a better artist is relying more on my understanding of lighting and color and form rather than what brush will give me a faster result. Okay, and then I'm also going to add some shadows under Melvin in the tree. Now these are the very base value laydown. I think then I'm going to remove the line art, just see how it looks, or even lower the opacity maybe. I don't need to remove it completely. And see how that looks. So, all right, let me zoom out. And I always recommend flipping your images, and I haven't been doing that enough. So when I flip it, I feel like there should be some light there. So I would even make the flipping canvas a keyboard shortcut. I always keep my left hand pretty much on the keyboard at all times. And my left hand works on the painting almost as much as my right, if you get what I mean in the fact that I'm always using keyboard shortcuts, whether it's changing my brush size, changing from the eraser to the brush, pulling up quick menus such as the hue and saturation or levels or anything that can give me a menu that I typically work with. I set that up as a keyboard shortcut. And I really do think it's important that you guys do that as well. I have a few friends that still change the size of the brush with the brackets, and I wince a little bit. I'm like, but you can do it so much more quicker with a keyboard shortcut. Even though technically that is considered a keyboard shortcut, it's like if you have to push more than like 2 buttons, I think it's not effective. Okay, I may soften the light on Cal just a touch. And then blend this out a bit more. So another thing that I don't do as much as I should is keeping my shadow value pretty consistent throughout. I'm always so obsessed with bounce lighting and adding numerous things to my shadows, but I've learned and I've seen masters of art just work with a very solid looking shadow, and it works really well. So every time I get a little crazy with my shadows, I always try to like reel it in and pull back and look at like, is this actually affecting the light source the way it would, or am I just wanting to add in a bunch of bounce lights and things that look pretty but don't really add anything to the piece, like any substance, or it doesn't improve it in any way really. Let's see what your comments are. Blue1117 says the fridge looks like an old computer mouse right now. Yeah, that's the one I grew up with. Shenanigans Gains, I should say, says, do you sell any of your work? I sell my sketchbook, which you can find in a link below. And I actually have a new sketchbook coming out in January, which is my collection of 2015 through 2016 sketches. And that will be in a Kickstarter. And I am selling 3 of my Drawloween pieces right now, but I upmarked them because I think it's hard for me to let go of my drawings. But those are the only ones available currently. Devil Shan says, if we need Easter eggs, then tea is essential. Oh yeah, we definitely have to have a little tea mug somewhere in here. Yeah, so if there's any ornaments you guys want to see, let me know and we'll add them in. All right, so when I remove the line art, you can see how we can still make out the forms of the figure. And this is great because I want to be able to remove our line art and still feel like we have a sense of the forms underneath. And this is always a test for if you guys are checking to see your forms, is paint under your line art and then either hide or remove your line art and then just check to see if the forms still register. And sometimes you might need another person to give you that clarity or give you that confirmation, because when you're looking at it, you might still see the line art because you've been staring at it so long. But if you ask someone else to come in, look at it, and if they're able to distinguish the forms, and that's great, then I think you've done a good job. So when I look at this, I think there's some areas could be worked on more before we drop in our color. So I'm actually going to remove the liner. Let's try something new. I think I am in more of a mode of why not just try it? Because with digital, I need to learn or I need to get better. I need to progress my skill with digital. So why not try some new techniques here? So in this case, I'm going to not add in my line art anymore. And I'm just going to work with what we got and kind of edge and clean out some areas. So like the star here, or you know what? I'll just make a copy of this layer. So then in areas like the star, I could use my selection tool and then erase the area that where it might not be as clean of an edge as I want it, like that. So let me show you if I did it all the way around the edge, what that could look like. Something like that. I still want it to have somewhat of a, not a fully rough edge, but something a little more textured. Because I think another good thing about learning about yourself with art is learning, like, do I like things looking more textured? Do I like things having more of a smooth look? Do I like line art in my work? And the more that you kind of learn these things about yourself as an artist, the easier it will be to create your own style from just practicing, because then you'll make decisions based on what you like, and after a while those decisions evolve into your style. Oh yeah, this is gonna be an ornament. Let's see the other questions here. Nebula Fox says, did you try in other digital paint programs in the end? I did not. I still need to do that, to be honest. Faithful Imagination says, maybe it's just me, but I feel like the light wouldn't be as strong on the side of the monster like you have it. Like past his eye, it should be darker. Are you talking about on Melvin? Yeah, maybe that rim light is a bit much. Let's try dampening it. And the snow, I think, should be more present here. Blue1117 says, shouldn't the sheep be getting a lot of bounce light from the light on the monster's face? Yes, that's why I have some of it here. I guess I could make it a little heavier, like on the edge. Yeah. Because with bounce light, you always got to remember that it will never be as strong as the source. It's like even with this gray, I have to make it lighter, or essentially I don't add as much when it bounces back onto the sheep. So like here you can see how his legs kind of get lost. So I need to make sure that those read better or more clearly. Oops. The only bad part about having only 20 redos is if you do something dumb like leave a circled area on your piece, you have to paint over it. Hey. Bennett with 1T says, it's hard to tell that the sheep's head is behind the star, so the shadow on his face is confusing, but the rest looks great already. Well, thank you. Yeah, maybe let me just keep, like I said, we just laid down a foundation. I still have to go throughout and clean it up, but I do see what you mean there. I got to clean that up too. But I think first let me grab Melvin's face since I started that area first. Because essentially you should be able to almost create the entire piece with just your grayscale. And then color is like an extra little fun detail that you can put on top. Or at least I've been watching a lot of tutorials recently that talk about the difference between digital painting and traditional, just to try to find more of a groove with digital. And one of the things that have been consistent throughout are just talking about rely on your fundamentals, rely on things that matter within a piece regardless of medium. And I very much agree to that. So I'm doing my best here to not rely on overlays or multiplies or anything that's more of a digital shortcut, and rely more on the traditional sense of painting and treating it that way. And when you're working in grayscale, you have to also keep in mind the hue identity of whatever it is you're working on. So like the Santa hat will be darker on the red part. Well, I thank you, Null Mall, for following. Than it would be on the white part of the fur of the hat. And I'm not going to let it bother me how close the background value and the Melvin value is, because immediately I'd want to affect them, but I'm going to let it just play itself out and keep it more true to how it would look in life. Okay, let's give little indentations to where the eyes and their features are. Melvin just kind of has these very simple oval eyes. Oh man, the side of this arm looks pretty jank. Let's fix that really quick. Yeah, that feels better. Although there would probably be more of a shadow right under the crease of his hand. Faithful Imagination says you can change the redos to 100 in the setting. I know. I think just because it bogs down the computer, I'd try to keep it lower. But I think the main reason is so that I can't rely on my undo feature too much. It was one of those things that I was taught when I was in college, and it just stuck with me. But now that I look back at it, I don't know how useful it's been. I think it's been more frustrating to have that on than to just take it off. So I might just end up taking it off. Satan Nikki says, we're currently watching your stream and preparing for our final project in college. I must say, you are a great inspiration and a great teacher. Also, please make a Xmas cactus ornament. Oh, thank you. Yeah, we can throw a cactus on there. Why not? Well, I hope you're working while you're watching this, that you can get your project done in time. Cal has these purple eyes, and I'm trying to dilute them just a bit because of how much light there is on his eyes right now. And he's like very wide-eyed, like trying to reach up and put this star on top of the tree. Maybe even like he's just like Then we have a really intense highlight on his eye. And I think for Melvin we'll add a highlight too. Melvin looks a little lifeless right now. Why don't we give him kind of like a smiled, like, oh yeah, we're putting up the Christmas tree. Oh, and the other thing I should mention is next week for the live stream, I'm going to do a community suggest stream, but a subscriber suggest one. So I'm definitely going to keep it open to all the community, but I'm going to first pay attention to the subscribers of this Twitch channel. And whatever you guys want to see drawn, however comical, as long as it's not lewd or is too out there, I will be painting it next week as kind of like a fun send off of 2016, because next week is the last one for the year. And then we will get it going again in January. I may do a casual one sometime between those, but these official Wednesday ones next week will be the last one for the year. So thank you guys, especially those of you who have been with me this entire year. This has been a kind of a crazy year, really. I'm going to open Liquify and just pull Melvin's face down. I don't like the way it looked. A little better. Then his teeth. Something wrong with this. I think his face needs to be turned more. Well, I think you may 3 of 4 for following. There, that feels better to me. Okay, so then let me work a bit more on Cal up here. Yeah, I don't think you'd actually see the light fall on the back puff. So instead, I'm just gonna get rid of it because you still might get some of that nice skylight on the top, but for the most part, it'll be in shadow until you get to the bounce light from Melvin. Oh, hi, Gawky. I saw yours because you wrote in all caps. Yeah, I'm like in a window. I wanted there to be an animation where like I could push or like click on something and the window would like open up, or it would go this way actually, where it would open, but uh, I didn't figure it out yet, so I still got to figure out how to do little animations. Mr. Desson says, "When will we hear about the future contest? Can't wait. Just know that it's gonna be sweet. That's my first little hint to you, and it'll be mid-January." Gypsy Hummingbird says, "Doing some emergency gift wrapping. Got a super last-minute bus ticket home this weekend." Well, hopefully you can finish that up in time for your bus. Christy McAfee says, "I wasn't here in the beginning, so I'll ask, how's your art block any better?" Uh, might be one where you might want to just watch the first part of the stream on YouTube because all of the streams go on YouTube after they're done. But I did a little kind of catch up rant. It's pretty long, so I don't want to repeat it. But just know my conclusion from all of that was I need to be less serious when it comes to art. I need to have more fun, let things happen organically, and keep people in my life to be more of a priority while still maintaining that driven art mentality. I think you need to find both and having that balance of both. And I felt like the stuff I was thinking about mentally outside of art was affecting my art, and the more that I was trying to fix my art by like trying new techniques or all these things that would hopefully help me see why my art block was happening, I think it was more or less it was the other things in my life that were affecting my work in a way that I wasn't happy with my work because I don't think I was feeling as motivated in my life. So having that combination, I think, was just a bad one. And then now that I've been able to think about it and I've been talking to my friends, and I always feel like you should always be honest and open with the people that care about you and the people that you love, as they want you to live a happy life. Hopefully, if they're your true friends, they want you to be happy and they want you to feel like you can talk to them about whatever you're going through. And I was able to do that, and I think I've definitely reconciled with a lot of what was bothering me. And honestly, I think having that stream last week was really good for me to have that connection with you guys in the sense of not only the encouragement, but sending it my ideas my way, or kind of explaining your own art blocks and how you got through them in your own life. I think it was really good to have me hear that during that time, because having an art block and then trying to push through it can be really rough. So having you guys on the stream with me during that, I think was just super encouraging. So I thank you guys again for being there last week. All right, once we get to a point where I feel comfortable with the values, then we'll start adding little ornaments. So if you guys have any ideas on what fun little Easter egg ornaments you want to see on the tree, let me know. And you know what? I'll write them down so I don't forget. I have a really bad memory. So remember the cactus. Fridge. If you have any others, let me know. I'll write them down. Let me see about... Blue1117 says, have you done any traditional work with colored pencils? I have. Actually, that was the only medium I worked with when I was in high school. Basically was just all Prismacolor colored pencils. I haven't done it in a very, very long time, so I'd be very curious going back to it. What would I still retain and remember from using them? I think that might be a fun little experiment. I was actually going to try sculpting and painting as one of my 2017 kind of aspirations. I'm not sure when or what I'm going to do. I just think I need to have fun with a different medium and just kind of experiment with it, and not feel so controlled about caring about what the outcome is going to be, and just letting it be more kind of a fun thing for me to try. Okay, we're almost there. Oh, you know what? Melvin needs a little highlight on his eye. And remember that the star is our main light source. We're going to have that fall right about there. Okay. So let's see here. This is one of those where maybe I'll back up really quick. Well, I thank you, unknown01739, for following. I feel like this should be just a touch darker. Yeah, I think he was just a bit too bright. This is one of those times where just make a new layer quick so I can erase all the excess. There, something like that. Show some bounce light in between his legs. Have more of a crisp shadow line here. Something like that. Okay. And then from here, I think for the tree, I'm going to not do a realistic tree. I think staying away from realism and digital might be a better option for me right now. So I'm going to do more of like a fun tree that might fit in the environment that these two characters would be in, the Eat Sheep world, essentially. And then we'll do the ornaments. Sorry. Devil Sean says tea. And you know what? I'm going to drink some of mine because I forgot last week to even drink any. Today we got our penguin mug. And I'm drinking that cranberry vanilla Winterland tea. And with a spot of pure vanilla extract. And a little bit of vinegar because I had to clean out my boiler and I can kind of taste the vinegar in here. But they say a little bit is good for you. Okay. So I'm just going to round out the edges on the branches. And then once our tree is set, then we'll pretty much be ready to add on our ornaments. And it's kind of fun doing this actually as a stream just because I feel like I can put up these, not physical ornaments with you guys, but I feel like we can decorate a tree together as if we were celebrating Christmas in the same room. Why, thank you, Tomas Capo, 100 for following. Faithful says, a fridge, a blackbird. Oh, that's right, the blackbird. Oh, and no lie, in Nocturnal Animals, there's a black bird that flies into a window and dies. And this isn't a spoiler of any kind, but the fact that that happened to the main character, like I was immediately connecting with how she was feeling about that, and it was really weird. Pizza. I don't know how pizza became one of our things. I guess last week was the first time pizza made an appearance. An otter for Sean. Devil Sean says there can be cookies under the tree in shape of Frederick Jr. Frederick Jr. The duck, for those of you who don't know. Mizidora says, I was thinking of trying out traditional painting as well. Which medium would suggest, oils or acrylics? Why, thank you, Kerbez, for following. To be honest, I don't know if I'm in the right to say which one I would recommend. I've tried both in the past, but I feel like I've only scratched the surface to have any kind of understanding. So I'm going to try probably acrylic or gouache. Maybe oil. No, I don't know. I would say why not try both? I think that would be my recommendation. Unknown 01739 says, still getting through your digital block. Yeah, I'm definitely more comfortable with it. And last night, I should show you guys. I was finishing up the piece that I started on last week. There you are. So here's how she ended up. And the entire time I was painting this, I wasn't worried about is there realistic lighting? Does the color make sense? Am I working with proportions that are accurate? I was more focused on what feels right. Do I like having this value here? Do I like the way that this gradient is happening with the few colors? And I was working with a bunch of filters that I've never worked with. Well, I think it was the exclusion and the difference layer mode. Let me double check that. I was working with subtract, exclusion, difference, like things I've never worked with before to try to create a result that was different than what I'm used to. So I was having a good time painting it, and I think when it comes to art, your best work comes when you're enjoying it. So I was trying my best just to not care about the little things and just enjoy the painting in general. Or I should say, enjoying the process. Okay, so back to this. Tijol says, "What about some cookie ornaments and some presents under the tree?" Yeah. I don't know. Maybe we'll put presents under the tree. I think. Well, we'll see. We'll see if we have time. What are we at right now? Okay, so we're an hour in. I definitely wanted to show you guys how to start with color, so let me work a little faster here. And I'll probably end up cleaning this up a little bit more after the stream's done, after I get my subway of course. But then I'll post it on the Facebook banner, or on the Facebook page later today. There we go. And the reason I like working in grayscale is you can see pretty quickly where there's like lighting inaccuracies. And I like having that ability on the fly. Where with color, it's sometimes a little tricky to decipher how light or dark a value is. But with grayscale, it's very, very easy. Oh, and I guess I should talk about some of the videos that I watched to kind of get through this art block. Because, like I said, I don't think I'm fully through it yet, but I definitely feel like I'm on the right path to overcoming this one. Well, thank you, Juicy Hasty, for following. I just watched because I was so affected by the movie last night, I was looking up the director, and I already knew Tom Ford from A Single Man, which is one of my favorite movies. And he talks about, what was it? Oh, he was talking about the meanings behind the movie, and then eventually I got into another link that was pretty much like an inspiration talk or a documentary about Tom Ford. And the way he talks about his life through his work, I connected with so hard. And he talked about how he not only is he a perfectionist, but there are times in his life where he got kind of overwhelmed in the materialistic side of art and getting lost in wanting to be successful. And he always had to pull himself back or have some kind of event happen where he would reflect on his situation and go back into what his work originally stood for. Well, thank you, Acid Man, for following. Or a City Man. Sorry, I don't know how to pronounce that. But I really like that because I think as artists, we all struggle sometimes with making art for others and instead of ourselves. And when we make art for others, I feel like that's when we kind of lose sight of why we do art. And it gets more into what will make me gain more followers, what will be a successful product. Things that I don't think a true artist should be concerned with. They should just be concerned with creating what is happening in their life right now, what's inspiring them in their every day to day. Or if an experience happens that affects them, they should translate that into their work. Or if they're feeling depressed or whatever feeling it might be, it should be translated into their work. And then I was watching this other video, and even though it wasn't talking about overcoming art block as much, it talked about how as artists, we can't hide how we're feeling. Every piece that we do injects ourselves into the work. And it might not be so obvious of like if you're sad, you draw a girl crying. It could be something like, let's say, like when that dead bird flew into my window, I wanted to do this illustration of that bird. It was just a life event that happened. But when I'm feeling down, or if I'm feeling like I'm not good enough as an artist, I might do a piece that reflects that in a way where it might be the colors I'm using. It could be the angles or the heavy contrast or no contrast at all. Like there's a lot of things that uh, get put into your work and you might not even realize it. And I think one of the biggest ones I saw growing up was a lot of my stuff used to be so sharp and so boldly contrasted. Now that I'm older and I feel like I'm getting a little softer in terms of my presentation and my personality, I'm not as, uh, I would say I'm still a go-getter, but I'm not as much of a, I like looking at what other people do and be like, oh, I should be able to do that. Like if they can do that, why can't I do that? Now I'm more in the sense of, I appreciate others' work and I definitely can get inspired by it, but I'm definitely my own competition now. I don't like to compare myself to other people as much anymore. So, anyways, yeah. So that was. If you any of you are curious about watching that documentary about Tom Ford and what he talks about, I have it on YouTube. Yeah, I liked it, but I can go find it and post it on the community page after this is done. And it's really short. It's like 40 minutes. Short for a documentary, I should say. Okay, let's see what we got. Spyro says, will this tree feature a dead bird ornament? You know it will. um, Alice Lackless says, wow, the painting changed so much with the colors and everything. It sure has a feeling of freedom on it. Shows how much you enjoyed it for sure. Oh, for the last one. Yeah, I really did have fun with it. And even at the end, I was just feeling like I felt good about the process, but the result I thought was just okay. I think it could be cleaned up further, but that could just be my old brain telling me that everything has to be rendered out and things like that. And you know what? I'm not going to listen to it anymore. I'm going to let it be more free and have fun with things. I still want to render things out and I still want to be proud of my work, but I think there are times where you need to tell the logical sense of your brain or the logical side of your brain to just quiet for a bit and let the creative side take over and let it be more natural and organic. Okay. Oops. Well, I thank you, Jim Mulger Gar, for following, or Jamal Gap, I think that said. Thank you for following. Okay. I feel. Oh, you know what? Lights. Sorry. I know I keep thinking we're done, but let me add on the lights and then we will add on the ornaments before we get into the color. Just got to make a little string here. And these lights I'm actually going to make a bit brighter. Or, you know what? Not that bright. You can see how even a almost neutral gray can look so bright when your whole piece is more in the neutrals, or more darker, I should say. That's exactly what I wanted. So then these light sources really pop. Okay, let's add in our ornaments here. Okay, we got a cactus. And mind you, I'm probably going to do these pretty quick. Just because I want to make sure that we have enough time to do the color and really get into it. Oh, you know what? I'm going to make these all in a separate layer. Merge those down. Okay. First, we have the cactus. I'm not sure why you wanted a cactus, but this one goes out to you. The fridge, I definitely wanted the fridge to be pretty prominent. I'll put that guy here. And I'll definitely do some cleanup work after we're done. The bird, I might just do like an ornament style bird. And he's dead. Pizza, let's see where we can add our... something like that. You know what? I'm going to make the bird darker, actually. Oh, what's next? The otter. Whoop. Get a little sneak peek at what I'm working on. All right, otter. Let's see. Oh, Photoshop's being slow with me. Come on. All right, otter. What the heck does an otter look like? You know what? Let me look up what an otter looks like before I just dive in blindly. I feel like I haven't looked at an otter enough. Okay. I guess I'll do like a cute otter. Because everyone always talks about... Because if you guys don't know what the otter is, it's pretty much... One of my art friends, Sean Price, was deemed an otter on one of the streams. And it just kind of stuck. They have a very interesting shape. It's like in between a seal and a bear, I feel like. And then Frederick Jr., which is our duck. Our rubber duck, I should say. And then a cookie. That's easy. And if you guys don't know why we're adding a cookie, it's because it's CG Cookie. Any last minute suggestions here? Gypsy says, you could set up a YouTube playlist on the channel for good tutorials or inspirations. Oh, you know what? That's a great idea. I'm going to do that. I like that idea. Lights and Sea says, as my interest in drawing and painting go, I have these highly detailed or time-consuming ideas in my head, but I lack the energy and stamina to finish them these days. Do you ever suffer from this? Yeah, all the time. I think the thing that helps me is I feel like I don't have as many distractions in my life because I have made art such a priority that I have a lot of time now. And since I'm a very patient person, I would say, I'm able to dedicate a lot of that time to the paintings that I want to do. So I would say when you want to do these big pieces and create something that is gorgeously rendered or something that you know is going to be time consuming, take it step by step. One of my challenges I have for myself in 2017 is I'm going to do this really big piece that is going to be like a small drawing every day on it. I went to a museum with my art crew and we watched where we got to see this piece that took an artist 3 years to complete. They were living in Madison, Wisconsin, by the museum for 3 years, and he would come in and draw with this pen every day. And it was like he would draw little scenes, but they would eventually grow to create this giant composition. But this piece you could look at for literally hours upon hours because there's pockets of little stories everywhere. And I really want to challenge myself and do something like that because it doesn't focus so much on like heavy realism or doing things that are overly rendered. It just focuses on like little stories, little pockets of like kids running across a log on a river. And if you do it really small, it's not that hard. It's meticulous doing it on a large scale. So if you break it up into like 10, 20 minutes a day, then you have something really big by the end of the year. So that's the challenge I have for myself. So let's see if there's any other suggestions before we get into color. Faithful Imagination says, Finding Dory is great reference for an otter. Oh, yeah, you're right. They did have otters. Devil Shan says, we still have no tea. Oh, yeah. Okay. Do the little emoticon cup that we have. Okay, so before I get into like rendering out the ornaments, because I think that's what I'll do later, just because that will take just some time, and I want to really focus on how do I make this into color now, because I think a lot of you might be working in grayscale and not sure how to make that transition. All right, so I'm going to make a copy of our grayscale. And then we're going to make a new layer above both of these and make it a color layer. So now from here, every color that we add onto our piece, it won't affect the value, it'll only affect the hue and saturation, I should say. But since it's grayscale, they don't have saturation, so we don't have to worry about that. So Melvin is this orange color. Oops. Oh man, hold on. Photoshop's freaking out on me. There we go. Okay. So on our color layer, oh wow, that is really orange. We're definitely gonna alter this a bit after we lay down our color. I didn't realize how vibrant that would still look. Make sure I get his arm. Now I'm just color picking from that reference that I did of Melvin earlier. And he also has these red dots on his arms. Let me just pull in the picture of that. Oops. Come on. Oh boy, it is bogging right now. Oh man, that was way more difficult than it should have been. All right, so here's Melvin's colors. See that orange, like really, I didn't think it would translate that vibrant, but yeah, it came in really dark. Or really bright, I should say. But he has these red spots on his arms. You can see when it's just color, it doesn't show up very well at all. That's because red likes to play with darker values. It's like on the hat, yeah, see how on the hat it works really well? But then if you worked on a lighter area, it doesn't work nearly as well. And you should know that you can't just lay down a color layer like this and expect you to kind of be done. You definitely have to alter it even after you lay down a color layer and work it up quite a bit. Let me also pull in our sheep. And there's Cal. There we go. And I know that the setting isn't going to make the colors read out perfectly as they would on these reference images where it's like perfect daylight. So I'm going to have to do some altering on the result to make it look like they're actually in the middle of a forest or wherever they are, and that their colors would be heavily affected by the environment around them. But I'm going to first just get everything down, and then we'll worry about making them look like their environment afterwards. Actually, I might leave this more white. Then our tree would actually be rather dark. Or at least the environment I see them in is definitely darker. Oh man. See, this is why I don't know if I can have the chat on the right side. It's because my Photoshop is just freaking out right now. I'm going to let some of that blue background color bleed into the shadow areas of the characters. What is going on with Photoshop right now? Come on. Get it together. Oh man, it is really cranking away right now. Sorry about this, guys. So I'm almost like drowning that orange out because in the scene, he wouldn't be nearly this vibrant. It would be much colder. But I'm glad I laid that orange down first to give me a color to work on top of. Well, thank you, Volmar98, for following. So you can see how, I mean, I definitely have to blend it quite a bit more, but this color just feels more fitting for the scene that we've created here. When he was that bright orange, it felt unnatural. I mean, even same with Cal right now. You know what? I think I'm going to lay down a base color first because since Photoshop's acting so slow right now, it's going to be really difficult to show you the way I want to handle this. So I'm going to do a side plan here. We're going to make everything more of this neutral blue color. Then we're going to add colors based on the light source. Okay, so I'm going to make another layer. Let's start off with, let's see, what do we want to do here? Let's first start with giving some bounce light on the edge of the characters. I'm going to actually make this a normal layer. Oh, Photoshop, come on. Just to like hint at the moonlight. Give some kind of a secondary color here. Oops. I was actually covering the comments up. I'm sorry. Tijal says, when is the next casual stream? I thought about doing one this weekend, probably on Sunday. But as I finish up my sketchbook, I thought I was going to do one more stream just on like finishing it up and calling it quits. But my next illustration casual stream will probably be the Christina piece, which was that girl in the water. And I have to have that done before OhioCon, and I kind of figured I would do casual streams for that. So even though I won't do these official Wednesday ones in the next, or the end of December, I will still do casual streams on this channel. So you can see how we already have this impression of a moonlight or something from behind because we're adding in the secondary light here. And you see a lot of animators use this technique where they'll use blue, whether it's at night or the day, to kind of act as a skylight that they can work into their piece. And a bit on the top of his arm here. But a lot of that will be drowned out with the light that's actually hitting him. Because these lights usually you do more in like the shadow areas. Okay. Now I'm actually going to grab a soft light layer. And we're going to add some colors just because I want to see what it would look like. Yeah, this is kind of the color I was thinking for Melvin. Before it was way too intense. Even that feels too dark. Or you know what? Why don't we start on cal? Because I feel like that will be easier to decipher. Oh, geez, it's frozen again. Come on. Yeah, I think I may have to take off the chat on the side just because of how slow it makes my Photoshop. And it's super difficult to paint when it's like constantly lagging on you. Or should we make the star yellow? No, I don't like that. I'm curious. I want to see really quick. Oh my gosh. Come on, Photoshop. This has never been this bad on a stream. So I'm going to add these red and green lights here. Oh my gosh. I am so sorry, guys. This is weird. It's like painting with a 3-second delay. I feel like I'm back in college when if you had too many layers, I mean, it still happens now, but back then it was even worse. But like it would be really sluggish. So I made an overlay for those lights, and then I'm going to do a soft light. Yeah, to give it some more kind of lit up look. Same with the red. Something like that. And then in areas where it's near the body of the character, I can add a little bounce light. Don't want to go crazy because they don't have that much of a distance to it. So I don't go too much. Definitely areas like on the tree that are close to the lights. I'll probably just do a hint of that light source. And then you'll definitely see it when I do the ornaments, because I'll definitely add some bounce light. Okay. So now, let's see here. I'm trying to think of the best way to do this because when Photoshop is this slow, it's hard for me to think with clarity on when I'm doing my color mixing. So why don't I I'll do an overlay and let's see what this looks like. I guess that's a start. Okay, so we'll start with this and then go from there. And he also has some on his head. But see how like that's too bright? I almost need like a darker spot underneath. Same with the horn. So then like if I went back into our grayscale one, I'll grab a darker gray and then pretty much paint underneath of that overlay layer. I know, let's grab our kind of light yellow orange here. Even that's way too light. That's better. Okay, I think I like that. Yeah, I almost needed something saturated but dark to really get the result that I'm looking for. I was filling his body here. Yeah, because I think the colors we were working with earlier were just too light for what I really wanted for the result. Well, I thank you, Exilus, the depth for fallen. Man, I butchered that. I am sorry. I am so sorry for that one. And I'm sorry for everyone that had to hear me try to pronounce that. Okay, so you see how he has such this kind of large gradient of white on his forehead? I'm going to get rid of that. It's too reflective. We want something more like this. Yeah. Okay, now going back to our overlay layer. Let's make our sheep look more colorful. And Cal pretty much adopts whatever color of the environment he's in, since he is such a grayscale a palette, except for his face, really. The tree I might just make more of a blue, I think. Yeah, I think I might make the tree more blue. I'm just going to use the selection tool here, inverse it, color our tree. Oh boy. We're also going to darken those areas within. We definitely left us with kind of a weird looking edge, but that's okay because that's something we can easily fix. And I like for the most part, I like the result that we got. One of the things with doing digital is I think I trust myself enough to fix and like clean up edges. So sometimes I'll slap something on like what we just did, knowing that I can clean up the edge of the branches. Is this the right way of going about it? I don't think so. And I need to break that habit. Oh, I thank you, Liam, for following. So I'm hoping I can get more into that now, where I can find a path that doesn't feel so forced, really. I almost need like Kale being like, oh, almost there, almost there. All right, so I'm definitely liking some of the directions we're going in here, but I do think there are some color issues that I need to fix here. So I'm doing this on a normal layer now. definitely have to fix that area up in there. Let's see if you have any questions here. Kathy Brown says, Tim, have you ever tried tea or coffee painting? I have not. Well, kind of. Not really, but I do want to get into it and give it a real test run. Faithful Imagination says, I don't think he's orange enough. He looks very grayscale. It's one of those where I want him to have a feeling of in the scene. And since his environment is so blue, this blue would probably mix in with the orange. I actually think he might be too orange still. Like I even might go more of like, let me show you what I was thinking. Something even like that. I think with doing a night scene, I don't know why I chose to do a night scene, but it is a little bit more difficult if you're trying to portray characters that are very colorful, because essentially you have to mix the environment color with their hue identity. And with Melvin, he's such a vibrant orange that being in this night scene would really affect his colors. And this might just take some more experimentation after the stream's done, because I often find that it's easier for me to work when I'm not constantly jabbering away. So like maybe I'll add some fun orange. But you see how like if I make that a lighter orange, it almost gives the impression of, I mean, I guess the star is the light source here, but since our star doesn't have a color really yet either. Yeah, I think this is just one of those things where I need to play around with it for a while. I think it's too early in its color stage to really get a good feel of what color these are supposed to be. Like if I made the star more yellow, then we could start mixing in yellow with a lot of these light colors, which I'll probably end up doing just so it doesn't look so grayscale. Because then I can easily add yellow on Melvin and it would make more sense. Actually, yeah, I already like how that's looking. Yeah, something like that. There we go, like 10 minutes left. Wait, let's see here. Exilus the Adept says, I have trouble getting into my art flow right away. Is that normal? How can I improve on this? Usually just like get. This is tough because I feel like I'm answering this for myself. You just got to do it. I always feel better when I'm drawing. I feel like it's been very rare for me to be upset if I start drawing. So start drawing, and then if you're encountering one of those art blocks or you're feeling just out of it artistically, take a break, go watch a movie, do whatever you need to get yourself out of the funk. But I have come to find that as long as you're doing art or you're doing work, usually I'm in a better mood. So maybe that'll help you of just go. Don't even think about it, just draw. Like don't even give your mind a second to process what's happening, just start drawing right away. Nebula Fox says the sheep looks just right. Well, thank you. I think there's definitely some cleanup area like underneath, but Yeah, overall, I'm feeling okay with how Cal's looking. Faithful Imagination says you could make the light of the star yellow. Yep, I think that's a great idea. Nebula Fox says if the star is so bright, wouldn't the vibrancy orange pop out? Actually, if you shine a bright white light, or in this case, like a bright, it's kind of yellow, but for the most part, it's like a bright white light, it will actually desaturate your color. It's kind of the idea of if you put an object outside when it's really sunny and then somehow create a cast shadow on the object, you'll notice that the area in light is actually less saturated than the area in the shadow. So, as a typical rule, your areas in shadow will be more saturated than your areas in light. So, with Melvin here, the star, depending on what color I end up going with, the the color of his skin should be a little less saturated than the color on the back of his body. I do think the back of his body is way too dark right now, and I want to lighten that up. But I can't get too saturated with the skin color on Melvin. Unless if this light source really wasn't that great, and like I was relying more on the environment art or light source, then his shadow would be a little lighter, or his area in light would be a little more saturated because we only have one light source lighting up him as a color. So yeah, I might make him a little more saturated, but I'm not going to push it too much. Angie Valda says, Pops, I really like your cozy house setup for the stream. Also, do you prefer your sketches over your finished artwork at times, or are you always satisfied with your pieces? I would say like 90% of the time, I feel like my finished piece captured what I was trying to do in a thumbnail or like an original sketch. But there is that 10% where I'm always like, oh, that didn't turn out, or that didn't have quite the same impact as my original sketch did. So yeah, that happens. Santa Nikki says, I admire how fearless you are when you work on your artworks. I hope you do spam control S though. Yes. I used to. I think I'm so dependent on Photoshop's autosave feature that I don't worry about it as much as I probably should, if I was honest with you. So I think I'm going to end this one off actually a little early. You know what? Let me add I'll add snow really quick. Now, it wouldn't make sense if I just did like perfect round snow in the scene, just because everything else has more of a chalky textured appearance. So instead, I'm going to create snow that kind of matches that look. And normally I would just create a brush or something really quick, but I thank you, Pokey Pillow, for following. I like that username. But I think with my new sense of like trying to experiment more and get a feel for other ways of doing things, I'm going to just draw in all the snowflakes. And I'm going to lock that layer. Oof. Obviously, I want to clean up this edge and carry it left. So yeah, I think that's what we got going here. Let me see if there's any last minute questions. If you have any last minute ornaments to suggest, let me know and I will add them to the tree before I finish this up later. But let's see. Faithful Imagination says, or wait, I missed one earlier. What was? Oh, Mizidora says, got any magnets yet? I have not, actually. So if you sent one, I have not received it. But I think that's good because I haven't made the fridge yet. But by next week, I'll have the fridge ready to showcase. And I saw that you are a subscriber. So if you want me to draw anything next week and you are a subscriber on this Twitch channel, I will be drawing whatever you want. And it'll be kind of be like a free end of the year fun celebration stream. And that's what I have planned for next week. All right, let's see here. Faithful Imagination says, what do you do when you've been working on a piece and you really like it, but you find a mistake in what you like that you don't like? You try to fix it and it keeps looking worse even if it's done right. What do you do? Okay, wait. What do you do when you've been working on a piece and you really like it, but you find a mistake in what you like? Oh, okay, yeah. Like, I think using overlay and multiply for me has been something I like using, but I can see the inevitable wrongness of using them because I almost use them like a crutch. So I think it's just finding, as with everything in life, that balance between, am I overusing this feature? Am I not using it enough? Or am I utilizing it in the right way? Or am I just using it because I'm being lazy? And I think sometimes I use overlay because I'm lazy and I don't want to paint it in. But I got to reteach myself to take the extra time to paint it in and use overlay more as like a nice little finish at the end, like a nice polish, but don't rely on it so heavily during the entire piece. Angie Valda says, what's your ideal way to spend Christmas? With family. Watching a movie, going to a movie, I think would be my number one. But yeah, not doing much, I would say. That, like, open your presents, spend the day in, maybe, I don't know, hot cocoa with a movie on in the background, like very, very low key. Santa Nikki says, add a little on-air sign implying the stream. Oh, that would be cute. Yeah, I'll want to add something like that somewhere on here. Angie Valda says, what about the magnets? If we make magnets, are stickers okay or any other drawings? Yeah, that's fine. To be honest, like, I'm so thankful that was even an idea, but if you guys want to send me anything that, it doesn't have to be a magnet. Like, if it's a drawing, I have my own little magnets. I could put your artwork up on the board, so don't feel like it has to be a magnet, but I think it's cute if it was a magnet. Tigel says, for next week, will there be a forum post where we can suggest ideas, or will you just take ideas in the stream itself? Also, if you need some help filtering out the ideas or whatever, let me know. Yeah, I will have that community post up. Maybe I'll put it up on Monday so that if you guys want to, like, put ideas up early. I was thinking it would be, like, very spontaneous because I think with me getting through this art block, I need to stop thinking so much. And I think part of that might be, or it might help if I'm just like, okay, what do you guys want to see? And if you guys are like a dinosaur, then I'll just start drawing a dinosaur without any reference, any kind of pre-notion of what it should look like, and just run with it, which I think might be kind of fun. And last is Faithful Imagination says, for example, I'm drawing a face I like, and I like it, but there are things I don't like. I tried redoing it or fixing it, and it just looks worse. For something like this, you just recognize, okay, what don't you like about it? Is it one of those situations where, like, the eyes don't match up when on one side to the other? And if that's the case, then figure out which eye looks out of proportion and just keep reworking it until it looks right. Try flipping your image, maybe paint over it, or like use your selection tool, push it up and down. Or let's say you don't like the way that you did the inside of the bottom side of the nose. A lot of the times what I found with redoing a face is sometimes when you try editing it too much, it starts to look over-rendered. So my advice with that might be just to start over, like paint over the nose and give it another go. And that's helped me a bit when I've been struggling with drawing faces in the past, so maybe that'll help you. Okay, that is our stream. We officially hit the 2-hour mark, so I'm going to cut this one off now. I hope you guys had fun with this one and hopefully maybe learn something new in the process. But I definitely think I'm going to redo some of the digital stuff I did with this because I like our grayscale that we did. I think I got a bit too digitally lost. Or actually, that looks better. Maybe it was just some of the newer layers on top. It just got too digital looking for me. And I want to keep it more in a traditional, not super traditional, but something that doesn't look over contrasted for digital purposes. So I will post this later on the Facebook page. I want to thank you guys for coming to this. I'm so glad to have you guys on every Wednesday and doing this. So hopefully, if you guys are going through an art block as well right now, talking about it has been beneficial to you because I know it's been very beneficial for me. So thanks again, guys, and hopefully we'll see you next week. And really quick, Toxic Salad says, do you do tutorials? Yes. So my full-time job is actually working with CG Cookie, providing tutorials about digital and now traditional concept art. So if you want to see that, just click on the CG Cookie mission below, and that will take you to the main site. But that's all I got today. So thank you guys so much for coming, and we'll see you next week, hopefully. All right. Bye, everyone. Bye. Bye. Bye from my little log cabin up in the hills. Bye. Where's the stop button? Oh no, my computer's being so slow I can't stop it. Oh, there we go. Okay.